we're back with part 3 of our Eyre Peninsula extravaganza. It's been quite the journey so far. We've covered hundreds of kilometres by both land and sea. And even though South Australia has failed to deliver any fish to Jeff and Grant's line so far, there are certain things this sterling country brings to the party without fail. The pristine turquoise waters, clear white sands and seemingly endless coastal cliffs are unmistakably unique. And with terrain that varies as much as this, there hasn't been a dull moment. However, I had something a little different planned for the crew today to spice things up, even if it meant they had to wake up before the roosters started crowing.
We met at 5:45 at the caravan park at the top gate, and then all headed down to catch the boat for the shark dive.
The great thing is it's a 3-hour transit out there. While you're heading out there, coffee's going, breakfast going, sitting around having a chat, working out what you're expecting for the day, and everybody's getting all excited and really looking forward to getting out there and seeing these great creatures.
Pretty impressive boat. Not sure of the size, maybe 34 to 40 foot, something like that, but certainly a very capable boat. It definitely handled the waters well. I mean, swell was 4 to 5 metres, and we're getting thrown around a fair bit. A couple of people were sick. I managed to hold mine in. I don't know how, but I did feel a bit green.
How incredible is this? We're around 3 hours off the coast of Port Lincoln, totally off-road, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we're going to see some sharks. Beautiful area for it, right on top of their breeding ground. Let's get some burley in the water, some dives in the cage, and see how we go.
Once we got out there, it was spectacular. I got in the water for a bit. It was a bit chilly, but unfortunately we didn't see the sharks. But in the water there was plenty of trevally, there was kingfish. It was beautiful to see. It was surprising how clear the water was, and it was just a wonderful experience. It's a once-in-a-lifetime thing. It's funny, beforehand, the build-up to the shark diving, while we were sitting there waiting, we saw the video footage and the photos of great white sharks coming at the cage, banging into the cage, that sort of thing. The adrenaline levels, once you saw that, just rose. And the whole way out, I'm thinking, do I want to get in there? Don't I want to get in there? This is one of those comings in the cage. I don't care how big the cage is, I'm getting out.
It was a great experience. Okay, we didn't see any sharks, but seeing something like that, you don't get to see that every day.
Well, the staff on board were fantastic. Morning tea was fruit, some muffins, some biscuits. Young Kelly on board did a fantastic job. She was very entertaining for everyone, helping everyone out.
Well, the tours we do are the swimming with the sea lions. So if you're not as out there, massive adventure seeker, but you want to get your feet wet and get amongst the water here at Port Lincoln, that is fun for all ages. And if you're adrenaline junkie, why not come swim with the great whites? And then you're out there interacting with the people on the boat. Your dive can last anywhere for up to 45 minutes. You wait there and hope the sharks will come and play.
It was one of those trips that you felt comfortable the whole way. The staff really looked after you and did the right thing.
So after seeing all the nice, beautiful fish in the sea and them swimming so happily, we then decided to head off to the fresh fish place, which was a fish factory, and it shows us how they process everything there from the ocean to your plate. And it was really interesting.
It's like a retail shop at the front. They also cook the food for you as well, fresh seafood. And then we also were lucky enough to go and do a tour out the back, which was really cool. We actually went in there, saw the fish being handled. Fish had been just dropped off from the fishermen. They were getting sorted and weighed. And then we went into the room where they actually cut up the fish.
If you love your seafood and you're down this way, you can't go past it. It's just, you're not going to get fresher. It's not frozen. It literally goes from the boat to the shop to your plate. So you can't ask for better than that. So I'm looking forward to have a bit of kingfish tonight.
Amazing lunch was prepared for us down at the Fresh Fish Place. It's a fish factory where they bring in all their own local seafood. They prepared their cook it for you. You could just see the people moving in and out as we were sitting down having lunch. It was busy as.
Hello. Oh, it's nice and warm here.
I had the prawn cocktail, the nanagai battered, and it was sensational. I like my fish and chips. We have a local one at home that's really good, and this was probably better.
Yeah, is that like the pesto crumbs? Yeah. Yep, that's me.
It was cooked fantastic from the team there, and we had a rundown from the owner, which made it even more special.
Talked us through all the options, told us about all the local seafood, where it comes from, how it's prepared, how it's looked after, and you can tell just the freshness that was in the food was incredible when it hit the plate. Me as a chef, it was just fantastic to see how good it was cooked.
Probably the best fish and chips I had since I visited England a long time ago. It was really a nice place, worth a visit. If you come to Port Lincoln, that's really a great spot to go.
Once we'd had our feed at the fresh fish place, it was time to hit the road again.
So we hopped back in the car and made our way to Mikkira Station, which is the Koala Sanctuary.
Wonderful little spot here. It was one of the first pastoral properties. You have to have a key to come here.
We actually got permission from the owners with Jeff to drive through.
This is the first sheep yards that were set up. They burnt the land to generate the grasses and built sheep yards, or a little shearing shed close handy. This is an ironstone area here, so they just dug a hole, the water ran out of the stone, they were able to water their sheep in the yards. Just to think the effort that would have been put in by the people to move all that stone, or to dig all those wells, incredible. We've been very fortunate to see it.
And the cottage is just up through this way?
It is. First house built on the property. The Borthwick family came out in 1842 from Scotland. So this area was some of the earliest that was settled by the white people. Mum, I'm coming in! It's great to be able to walk in there and see it all and really imagine just how tough the life was. They would have had money to set up, but it still would have been very hard manual work.
But it's also a big risk of leaving
Scotland,
and coming to the unknown.
You've got a little living area, you've got a couple bedrooms, some bunks.
This is actually deep compared to my grandmother's. They only had 2 bedrooms and 1 kitchenette, that was it.
That must be the main bedroom, there's the on the door.
That's the ensuite. Look at that.
Ensuite. They're using the same blanket we have, Simon.
That's correct. There's some amazing old trees here and lots of koalas to see, something like 300 nearby.
Where you going, bud? He's awake. He's awake. I think that's the same one.
So many trees, and pretty much every single one of them has a koala in it, which was sensational to get up close and personal and take some photos.
Hey Andrea, you're all looking at that one. What about the one that's just over your head right here? Look. Oh, good one. You could touch him.
They seem very content here. By the number of koalas in this sort of area, they obviously don't feel threatened at all.
Hello. You look like an old lady. Actually, you look like Alan Johnson.
Old fella. Dreadlock.
Hey, Alan Johnson.
Alan.
Alan.
Over the last few months, it's been great seeing him grow up from being in Mum's pouch to on her chest to being independent.
We went for a walk out the back of the original house and saw this massive stone structure which must have just taken hundreds of hours to actually build.
It reminds me a lot of Ireland in a lot of respects where I grew up, because there's a lot of stone wall here. It's unique in itself, it's a real experience. We've been very fortunate with Jeff from Untamed Escape to be guided through here and get our own personal tour and get the history. When you get the history and you get that local knowledge, that's what encourages me to go back and tell another 1,000 people.
A couple of hours later, we've sat here and we've watched the sun go down.
Now it's starting to cool down a little bit, so we'll go and set up camp, get the campfire going, cook a feed, sit back and have a cold one.
This morning was very cold. Even so, we had the fire going at the camp. It took us a while to warm up, and we really were waiting for the sun to come up over the tree lines.
Woke up this morning, a lot of dew around, nice and fresh, but as soon as the sun came out, it certainly warmed up.
So the first night at the station was actually my first night camping ever. but I got the rooftop tent, so that was a bit of fun.
We left there for our day trip. Jeff, our tour guide, popped out and picked us up.
Got told by Jeff that we're going to head up to Lincoln National Park, where he tells us that it's a lot of dunes, a lot of sand, something I haven't really done before.
The plan for the day was to spend it in Lincoln National Park, which is southeast of Port Lincoln, short drive.
One of the great things about this is we're only about roughly 45 minutes out of Port Lincoln. You could do this in a day trip.
So today we're going to do the full drive track Sleeper to Wanna. It's the main full drive track of the Lincoln National Park. And down there you should be able to see beautiful coastlines from one end of the park right around to Whalers Way.
We've moved from Sleaford to Wanna and stop in the great big sand dunes.
We'll be driving along cliffs, over some sand dunes, along some beaches. There's quite a large variant of full driving in this track. It's an excellent spot to travel, and I'm happy to show these guys our local spots. It's fantastic. I hope they enjoy it as much as we enjoy showing them.
Off we went, and our first exit into the sand for the day was epic. It really was. It was a really nice sharp hill climb. We got up okay. Andreas had a little bit of trouble.
Got up the first steep part of the dunes where we got stuck. So we obviously didn't have enough momentum. It looked a bit frightening, so we had to come back down and took another approach until we could really make it up to the top.
Probably a bit rusty, not having been out in the sand for a couple of years with COVID and lockdown, but sure enough got bogged the first time. Not enough momentum, manual, wrong gear, so backed it out and gave another crack. Different gear, more juice, got bogged again. So look, I was right at the crest and it was a tricky exit off camber and there were a lot of bushes.
Yeah, probably Simon, above the top enough.
Oh, he doesn't want to go back.
All right, let's snatch Grant over the top, please.
That's so unlike you, Grant.
So I've just got the tread boards out and one under each wheel and climb straight out.
With everyone successfully over the first climb, we took the time to fit the vehicles with sand flags. Whilst only 14 kilometres long, the Sleaford Wanna track consists of tight, narrow sections where advertising your presence is key. So everyone, it's critical that we stay on the form tracks and stay off any vegetation. Vegetation is there to stabilise the dunes. It could also represent some important middens and other areas of significance to Indigenous populations, so really important to stay only on form tracks and stay right off any vegetation. Jeff and Sarah, what do you think of this area?
This place is amazing. It really is. I've only sort of done inland of South Australia, haven't done the coastal, and yeah, words can't describe it.
Simon, look at 2 o'clock in the waves, there are dolphins cruising through the crest of the waves.
Really? Where?
Keep watching that through here. In there, I reckon. So I saw 2 of them in there before.
We actually saw some dolphins, which is really spectacular to see out there in the open.
After exploring the beautiful coastline, our guide for the day took us on a tour through the gorgeous Lincoln National Park. With the terrain changed from open sandy dunes to coastal vegetation. Jeff, that lake out to the left is just incredible.
Yes, I was saying to a few people before, it was absolutely stunning on the way through the morning with the steam rising off it and the sun on the top of the dunes behind us. It was incredible.
It is like a sheet of glass. I tell you, if people took one look at that, anybody who's done barefoot water skiing, that is absolutely perfect. It's absolutely like a mirror.
As we were making our way through, it was actually surprising. We were expecting a bit of sand to start up, but there was actually a lot of rock. But I mean, The Coopers with the rugged treks, that was no drama at all. We knew we were going to cruise through, so easy.
The track itself, the terrain changed. It came tight, it opened up, it became rocky, sandy in parts. There's a couple of little rocky hill climbs there which were quite nice, but overall just a spectacular drive through the countryside.
It's really important in these environments that you stick to the tracks. It's a very well preserved area. The tracks are really well marked, but you just get one or two individuals who tend to go off track and rip it up, and the hope is that that doesn't continue, because the last thing we'd want is for these beautiful environments to be closed out.
Mike from Trek, you keen to throw a line out at some time if we get a chance?
Definitely not. I got pro fishermen in front of me, and they're the ones that catch everything. Especially that Jeffrey Newick guy. I've seen him land some of the biggest snags ever.
Yeah, well, between Grant and Jeff the other day, they lost 4 lures in 5 minutes.
And that was before they even cast a rod.
They must be the world's best fishermen to lose that many lures. I only lost one, and that was the reef.
Mike, pretty tight and windy through here. Just goes to show how important it is to have sand flags on.
Yeah, Simon, look at the height of the vegetation, nearly 2 metres, some of it 3 metres. Sand flag just lets you see what's in front. Like, I'm at the back of the convoy and I could not tell you who's in front of me.
Readily available from most good four-wheel drive stores, and they simply fit via what looks like an air fitting onto the vehicle.
Yeah, very simple air fitting attachment, or you can put them on your headboard or anywhere really. Once you actually get one on and see a major difference in front of me, I can just see the tops of the rooftop tents in front of me and the big flag up above it.
After that we popped out to this cliff edge in a little car park. It was called Salmon Hole.
So guys, it's been a number of years making these TV shows and no one has ever caught a fish actually on camera. Grant and Jeff reckon they're going to break that curse this trip. They're getting set up to let go. Fingers crossed, let's see what we can catch.
Myself and Grant have had our little wager for the trip to see who can catch the first fish.
So Jeff and I got the rods out and thought we'd just flick a lure in there and see if we got lucky.
Whilst Jeff and Grant went head to head to see who could catch the first fish of the trip, the rest of the convoy spotted a few friends off in the distance.
Well, lo and behold, the first fish live on camera on four-wheel drive TV. Look, it wasn't a big one. It was, only about it was about this big.
Unfortunately, I've lost. Grant's won, even though it was about this big.
And needless to say, I'm glad I had the chicken in the travel buddy oven because we would have starved to death.
But the trip's not over yet. I am going to beat the size of that fish, and then he's going to have to step up again.
Next week on Your 4x4, we head further north up the Eyre Peninsula to Coodley Park to check out some stunning lookouts, say hello to some farm animals, and explore more of South Australia's beautiful coastline.
Down, bud. It's away. It's away. I think that's the same one.
What about this fella here? Hey, Andrea, you're all looking at that one. What about the one that's just over your head right here? Good one. You could touch him.